We've reviewed a serious amount of Terraria weapons now, from early game gems to post game monsters, and so it really surprised me to find out that we haven't covered one of, if not the most iconic support weapons in the game. Yep, none other than the Nimbus Rod. I don't know about you, but the Nimbus Rod is one of those weapons I'll always find myself with at some point, regardless of my class. So I guess the question is, after its serious amount of nerfs received in Terraria 1.4.4, is it still worthy of a hotbar slot today? Before we jump into it though, if you are enjoying these weapon reviews, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, as it truly helps out the channel. Alrighty, let's see how you can get this thing. As many of you know, the Nimbus Rod is the flagship drop from the Angry Nimbus enemy, a rarish flying hard mode enemy that spawns on the surface while it's raining anywhere apart from the snow biome. For me, this is really one of those weapons I get loads of when I'm not looking for it, but seems extinct when I do. So here's a few ways you can increase your Angry Nimbus spawn rate. Firstly, farming in areas with a diluted spawn pool, like between the surface and space, will drastically increase how many you'll see about. And from my experience, may work even better at your oceans, with one appearing every 30 seconds or so. However, with a 6.67% drop rate, this might not quite cut it. So if you want to get your hands on one much quicker, not only will you need to use a battle potion and water candle for an increased spawn rate, but also farm for it during a blood moon. You see, the general increased spawn rate of all enemies during the blood moon almost doubles the chance of seeing angry nimbuses. This combined with the other optimizations mentioned will make getting this thing a breeze. And just like that, in a sudden stroke of good luck, I managed to get 2 back-to-back. Now then, let's see what it can do. Of course, being a support weapon, wielding the Nimbus Rod is usually a win-win, as it doesn't affect your primary weapon DPS, and as you can see, can provide a nice downward stream of damage that can pierce up to 4 targets. The clouds themselves last 5 minutes, and can be placed anywhere on your screen, as long as there isn't any tiles blocking your view. And as you can see, on a vertical line of targets, we can get some pretty nice DPS, and you can actually stack this with other support weapons, such as its younger brother the Crimson Rod and the Clinger Staff. Also, against lines of enemies, while it can only really hit 2 at once per cloud, assuming this line was moving, this damage will be nicely spread out, which we can see more clearly against the real thing. You see, against these mummies, 2 Nimbus clouds are able to kill most of them before reaching the player, but unfortunately not all the time. So even against weak enemies, you'll be required to do most of the heavy lifting with your primary. And I mean, when it comes to fast-moving single targets, well, it's pretty useless to say the least, and is most definitely not what the Nimbus Rod was designed for. So with that in mind, let's move on to the thing we've all been waiting for, the ultimate destroyer cheese. If there was anything this weapon was designed for, it's this fight. Being able to completely decimate the destroyer's health pool, even today, after buffs to its health and nerfs to your damage. The Nimbus Rod is truly the most guaranteed get-out-of-jail-free card for this fight, even allowing you to stand on a platform high enough and let the Nimbuses do all the work for you. So if there ever was a reason to get this thing, regardless of your class, this is it. But do be warned, this is really where its usefulness stops against bosses, failing to have anywhere near the same effect against less segmented bosses like Skeletron Prime, so I would put it away for these fights. But not forever, with it still remaining useful to some extent during events and invasions. You see, similar to the Clinger Staff and other support sentries, the Nimbus Rod can be a fantastic way to semi-AFK things like the Pirate Invasion, allowing you to stay almost entirely safe in a bunker while the clouds deal with the enemies above. And the fact you can quickly pull this out without affecting your main damage output means there really isn't any downside to having this in your arsenal. And so there we have it, the iconic and still sometimes powerful Nimbus Rod. Yes, it may rely on certain niche scenarios to excel, but you know what? That's alright, because it can just be something you bung in your inventory, forget about, and pull out when you need it most. Let me know if you still go for this thing down below. This has been sockrteez, and I'll see you in the next one.